I'm very happy to be here. I'd like to introduce you to our interviewee. His name is Terence Parkins, and this is his sign name, Terence Parkins. People in the world, whether they are deaf and hearing, know about Terence Parkins because he is an Olympic champion. He has competed in both the Deaflympic Games and the Olympic Games. Terence, tell us, how many medals have you won altogether? Well, in total, I've won 34 medals. 34 medals. I've won 1 silver medal at the Olympic Games, and I've won 33 medals at the Deaflympic Games. Well, that's truly impressive. We pay our respects to you. People are curious to know more about your Olympic experiences. I want to take this opportunity now to ask you a few questions because we'd like to learn more about your history and how it is that you came to be an Olympian and Deaflympian. Where were you born, Terence? Can you tell us? Sure. I was born in Zimbabwe. My mother was unwell during her pregnancy. I was born deaf. I went to a mainstream integrated school in Zimbabwe, but I was unhappy with my experience there. South Africa had a school for the deaf in Durban, so my family decided to move to Durban for my better education. And as a result of that, we lived in South Africa. Are your parents hearing? Yes, both of my parents are hearing. Are you the only deaf person in your family? Yes. I have one sister who is hearing. How did you communicate in your family? My parents signed and spoke. And we had our own home signs, our own home language as well. So Terence, you grew up in Durban. Did you start swimming in Durban? How is it you came to be interested in swimming? At what age did you start? At school, they encouraged us to swim and be involved in different sports, and I loved swimming. But it wasn't until the age of 12 that I really became serious, and I remember watching the 1992 Olympics on television, and I said to my parents, I want to be an Olympian. I want to compete in the Olympic Games. My parents said, you can do whatever you want. You can do it. A few months later, I entered my first swimming competition. I was not a member of a club. It was just my school experiences, there being in competition. My mother at the time assisted me by letting me know when the starter's gun went. She threw her arm down at the start. So I did the butterfly, then backstroke. But unfortunately, I did the butterfly and then did the wrong stroke back. So I was disqualified in my first event. And people thought, wow, he has real talent. So after seeing me just race once, someone approached my mother and said, is your son in a club? My mother said, no, he's an individual swimmer. And then I was invited to be a member of this swimming club. And I forgot about that. But then sometime later, again, this person said to my mother, where's your son Terence? And she said, he's at school. And then she said, we have been looking for him. Can you please make sure he comes to our swimming club? We'll give you our phone number. And this particular woman nagged my mother to bring me to the swimming club. And it was there that I started to be involved in a swimming club and a program. And this particular woman was a much better swimmer than me, and I was embarrassed because she would continually beat me. So you must have thanked this particular woman and her persistence for asking your mother to bring her to the swimming club. So what age did you join the swimming club? At the age of 12. That's right. So when I was 12 years old, I joined the swimming club. And I was involved in competitions over about a 1-year period. And you said that your mother assisted you at the start because you could not hear the starter's gun, so she gave you a visual signal. But how did you communicate with the hearing officials and all the other things that go along with that? Well, when I was involved in the swimming club, I had a coach. His name was Graham Hill, And he thought, how can we assist you? Because you are deaf, because you cannot hear the starter's gun. So they developed a visual sign that they would use their hand and drop that to indicate to me when the starter's gun went off. And then in time, they thought, well, we could use a plastic cup on the top of the starter's gun, so when the starter's gun went off, the plastic cup would move up in the air and I would know. So I would watch this signal, and they were all waiting, and I was unsure because it was cold when it would start, and I thought that I saw the cup move, but I actually had a false start. But in time, we changed that system, and we went back to the original system of a person dropping their hand for a visual signal. But in time, we also then developed a light system with the timers, and I couldn't see this flag, and then I asked the coach if one of the officials could be moved from one end of the pool to the other end of the pool so I could see when to start. And this was a much better way for me to start the race. And then when I would travel overseas, people would see that I was deaf, and I would see all the different officials, and they would say, okay, you're deaf. Well, how can we make sure that the start is accessible to you? So different people would use their imagination and create different starting systems for me, including flashing lights next to my block, which were linked to the starter's gun, many different starting systems. It's good to see people provide consideration to and problem solve, whether it's starting with a start gun and dropping of a hand. There's a slight time delay. How did you manage that? That's right. The dropping of the hand and the light is different. The light is much faster than the dropping of the hand. So the speed of light travels faster than the speed of sound. So it's true, I was at a slight disadvantage. So if the two were synchronized, then that would be much better. Then I would not face that disadvantage. As a deaf person, were there any advantages to you compared to your non-deaf or hearing competitors? Well, maybe 0.1 of a second I have an advantage. But in swimming, every microsecond is important, right? Whether it's at the start, during the race, or at the end. You're right. The dive at the start is most important, and you need to have a fast response time. And standing at the block looking down to my right for these different signals was a disadvantage. Being able to look down at the block and the lights certainly assisted my start and preparation for the race. Could you please tell us a little about your training regime? How much time you invested in your swimming training? Well, swimming life is tough. Monday to Friday, I would have the same program 5 days a week. Monday to Friday, I would be up at 4 a.m. We would then drive a half an hour to the swimming pool, arrive there at 4:30 a.m. I would have a stretching program for 30 minutes, and then at 5 a.m. I would be in the water until 7 a.m. for 2 hours of swimming training. Then after that, I would go to school. I would be at school for the day, and then I would finish at 1:30. Then I would go back for training at the gymnasium from 2 p.m. for 2 hours to 4 p.m. Not hard, strenuous training, but strength training, cardio training. And then at 5:30 p.m. I was back in the water for 2 hours, and I'd finish at 7:30 p.m. Go home and have dinner every day, 5 days per week. On Saturday morning, I had a 3-hour training session. And then on Sunday, it was a day of rest, but I would participate in different types of competitions, and I would be swimming on Sundays. So on average, it would be 80 to 100 kilometers that I would swim per week. So swimming 100 kilometers every week is a heavy training regime, did you have a particular diet? Was there a certain number of calories that you had to have per day? Can you tell us about your diet? I ate a lot. I did not have a strict diet. I love meat and protein, so I did not have a fixed diet at that time. I did not have particular types of vitamins, supplements. I didn't believe in that. I believed in a normal, healthy diet. Did other people in your training squad have a particular food requirements or diets? They did, but I wanted a normal, healthy diet. Tell us, how did you communicate with your fellow swimming members and competitors? Fortunately, for me, we knew each other, and as swimmers, we had lighter type of conversations, not heavy conversations, but I could see that many struggled to communicate with me, and I really focused upon my swimming. So I wasn't distracted by other things that were happening around me, so I was left alone. Sometimes there were communication breakdowns, and I would have to try and resolve things. There were things throughout the time, but there were no major problems really, just small communication barriers. Now, can you tell us more about your Olympic experience? Can you share that with us? We really want to know more about what it was like to compete in the Olympic Games, and how did you feel when you competed and won a medal? Thank you for that question. I have very fond memories of my Olympic experience. 4 months before the Olympic Games, I twisted my ankle and it was badly swollen. I was unable to walk. I could not train. I was in great pain. And then unfortunately, because I was placing a lot of reliance upon my stronger leg, I also strained that leg and I ended up on crutches. So that meant I could be in the pool, but I could not do any push-offs from the wall. I had intensive physio, I had treatment, I had ice packs on both of my ankles. And 1 month before the Olympic Games, my ankles were fully recovered. I was in Melbourne for 1 month before going to Sydney for the 2000 Olympic Games. I was at a 1 month training camp with my fellow South African swimmers. And at the end of the training session, we had finished our program. People would go to the movies or go to the shopping mall, but I stayed and continued to train because I needed to train more. I wanted to do further training, and I did that alone. They'd say, Terence, come on, we can do some social things. I said, no, I want to stay in the pool. I did additional training. They thought, Terence, you are crazy. Stop, you're training too much. I said, no, I want to focus upon my swimming. And then when we flew to Sydney, wow, what an amazing experience. A major challenge being this amazing city and stadium. It was a really highly emotional experience for me, and my hairs stood on edge. My dreams became a reality in Sydney. And I knew I had this feeling that my work was not finished. So yes, I was an Olympian. Yes, I was marching in the parades, the athletes' parade at the opening ceremony, but I wanted to compete to the best of my ability. So we had heat 1, 2, and 3, and then I made it through to the finals. My coach said to me, Terence, okay, this is your last chance. And he was right. This was my last chance to make it happen. There were different swimmers in my race from different countries. They were in different corners. Some were lying down, some were standing up. I sat here and I was the only one to begin with. They were all in different positions when we were lining up. I just sat there quietly looking around, trying to relax and be calm. I just thought to myself, Terence, this is your only chance. You have one chance to make it count. I remember being on the deck and I could see at the dive, the Australian swimmer was very fast and I tried to stay close to him. And then I turned to my right. I could see another swimmer, but I could see that the two of us were pulling away from him. And I was happy, but I could not see swimmers in other lanes. But then the lane over, to my surprise, it was empty. There was one person in front. And I was very surprised to see that, but I thought, okay, remain calm. Do not be overexcited. do not lose control. Stay in control of your race and your swimming. I kept swimming as hard as I could. I looked up to the scoreboard and I was so happy. I screamed with joy that I had come second. But in lane 7, I had made a mistake between lane 7 and 2 to make sure I could see the number. Yes, I did come second. I thought, is that lane 2? I thought, no. I was so happy when I realized that I came second and won a silver medal. When I was standing at the medal dais and the podium, I thought, wow, I'm here at this swimming stadium. This is a highly emotional experience for me. And then I came into a slight daze and I was waiting, thinking what was happening. And one person next to me tapped me on the shoulder because I could not hear what was happening when I was called up. And then I went up to the medal dais and my medal was presented to me. But I was confused as to what to do because it felt like a dream. It didn't feel real. And I thought, have I really won a silver medal at the Sydney 2000 Olympics? And I realized it was not a dream. Listening to Terence speak has just given me tingles down my spine. I remember watching you race, Terence, at home in the United States of America, watching you on television at the Sydney 2000 Olympic Games. I know that at that moment, the deaf world was supporting you and wanting you to do the best of your ability. Can you now tell us about your deaf Olympic career, both swimming and cycling? Tell us, why did you decide to go into cycling? Well, cycling was a part of my training regime as a swimmer. And I saw that at the 2006 World Championships, the results at the Deaf Olympic Games, I thought, my training times are similar to the competition times. So I thought I could enter this cycling race. So I entered the World Championships in the United States of America in Los Angeles. Sorry, my mistake, San Francisco. I thought I'd enter this competition. And I thought I have nothing to lose, and I love sports, and it's something different. People said, Terence, you're a swimmer. Why are you in this cycling event? We're confused. And I said, look, I am a swimmer, but as a part of my swimming training, I cycle. It keeps me fit, and I enjoy it. So I would like to enter the 100-kilometer cycling race. And to my surprise, I came first. I surprised myself in winning that race at the World Championships. And at the Deaf Olympics, I thought, I would like to do both a swimming program and a cycling program, which meant a lot of work in terms of scheduling. So I had changed my swimming schedule because there's 3 days of swimming and the 4th day is a rest day. And then there are 3 further days of swimming competition. So on that one rest day of swimming, I entered a particular cycling race. So I came third in my cycling race. And at that event, I won 7 gold medals in my swimming campaign and 1 bronze medal in cycling, which was a wonderful experience. Competing in both the Deaf Olympic Games and the Olympic Games, can you see any major differences between the two? Yes, there is a major difference between the two. At the Olympic Games, they are professional athletes, and the standard is very high. The Deaf Olympic Games has a high standard. It's not a criticism, it's different. It's more like, for example, the performances and times are more like a national competition meet. It has a lot of interest from the deaf world, and at the Olympic Games, it's huge, but it's tough when you're the only deaf athlete. True, how do you feel being here at the Deaf Olympic Games? It's a wonderful experience here, being able to be with so many other deaf people at an international sports event. Be able to communicate and learn and exchange so much information and make so many friends. My last question to you, Terence, is now that your swimming and cycling career is over and you've retired, what are you focused upon doing now? I know that the Monaco government has asked you to be involved in a development program. Can you tell us more about that? Yes, they want me they've asked me to be involved in creating awareness about the importance of swimming, and many people not being able to swim and are losing their lives through drowning. So I've been involved in an awareness campaign about swimming and being able to conduct first aid and CPR, and thinking that it's not okay to go swimming alone, but you must inform your parents and you must swim in a group or with others to make sure, number one, that you're a safe swimmer, so that people have that trust and confidence. So that's what I would like to do. So is that for deaf children or hearing children? For both deaf and hearing children. In Africa, there are many drownings, mostly hearing children. And of course, this message is for the children of Africa, but also the deaf children of this world. My last question to you is, what do you want to say to young deaf athletes around the world about their future dreams? I want to say to you, deaf athletes, you can do anything that you want to do. Do not look for sympathy. Do not accept sympathy. You are like any other athlete. Just because you are deaf, don't think of that as being a disadvantage or different. Work harder, push yourself harder, so that you can be equal in every sense. Thank you for those closing remarks. We wish you all the very best with your future work